Incoming message.
Rest in peace to the Cha-Cha-Cha Slide, man. Oh, man. We got to honor that man. He created a real legacy, you know?
It was black motion.
Yeah, we need to replace the Cha-Cha Slide with the Negro National Anthem.
What's going on, fam? This is KR Jones of the Off the Strength podcast, and I am here to tell you to like, listen, subscribe, and if you're feeling freaky, visit offthestrength.com. That's where you can go and get more information on us. That's where we can link, we can build, we can connect, and let's make this thing work.
We don't be knowing the verses of the white songs. We just know the hook. You know what I'm saying?
They had some good hooks.
Because the hook was really the harmony that they stole.
Part that we sampled.
Yeah, that's the part that we stole from the black people. So you know I can't go for that. No, you don't know the verse. You don't know the in-between. You know what I'm saying? You just know when your part come on.
What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to yet another episode of Off the Strength, where we give you the inside look into all things wellness culture. I'm a trainer called Tony, and of course with me I have a gentleman of extraordinary league.
KR Jones is in the building.
That's right, folks. We are back. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you are now in store for a treat because it's the return of the variety show. That's when we give you our best foot forward. So hopefully you take your best foot forward. You do that two-step, that tango, whatever it is you need to do to make it on through the week with the best goddamn wellness information available.
Yeah.
Brother Jones.
What's the word?
How are you feeling this week, my friend?
Feeling like we need to ban all these poo shiesty masks. You know what I'm saying? If you are indoors, take it off.
So
we just seen a very sketchy gentleman come in. We're not gonna act like we weren't all trained to be in fear of ski mask as kids, and now as an adult, we just accept it as a regular being.
It's the post-pandemic world, man. You just have to accept that.
No, thank you. You asked me how my week was, man. I'm sorry. I was distracted by the people at the good folks in Newsstand Studios. The week has been a week, man. I feel like somehow we in slow motion and fast forward at the same goddamn time.
I could totally understand that.
I'm in the midst of that, and I feel like I've grown into a bit of a trust the process kind of mentality, right? It's been a week where a lot of things fell in place that didn't really... I have on my bingo card that morning when I woke up, and it was like, oh, wow, that worked out. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those kind of weeks, man.
A little serendipity inside there.
Sure. I was Jessica Alba. No, what was her name? You know who I'm talking about.
No idea. We're just going to
Julia Roberts.
Sure, why not?
I think was the serendipitous one. I don't remember, bro.
Man, so my week. On the outside of that.
How was your week, brother?
Yo, on surreal, Kyle, I definitely had to get back into the tool bag for everything. Relaxation this week as a primary concern. Because I started the week dealing with a whole bunch of bullshit that ain't had nothing to do with me. So I was trying to parse that all out, get it together. And by the time I got to the end of the week, battery was on E, but luckily I'd had a vast amount of things to tap into that I make sure I'll get into when I start to relax responsibly a little bit later on in the show, my man.
Okay.
So I pulled the plane back up. It's going into the nosedive position. I had to take the bump, flip the plane back over straight to Denzel.
I'm leaving here with something. That's what you did.
Had to recover, had to get right back into the right direction, man. And yeah, bro, I got to be honest with you. I feel like that breakneck pace and starting is the thing that has been a theme for at least my first half of this year. And inside that direction, Kyle, I feel like, you know, knowing when to recharge the battery is something that I really want to tap into. So I want to know when you, as a professional, know to charge back up your battery. When you're feeling like those ups and downs are really testing you, how do you get back to that baseline and then continue to go forward?
Thank you for the question, man. I'm thinking about just a general check-in. At the end of the day, like you're going to burn out. That's very natural in the world that we live in these days, and everyone has slashes after what they do, and your work is also how you identify yourself as an individual. There's so many parallels that take place, but I feel like when you get to that end point, it looks and feels very much like burnout. Like, yo, I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to see nobody. Your mere presence is raising my blood pressure. I might be on E. I need to go and calm down and combat everything that I've been doing with that dogged, workaholic mentality to then rest and relaxation to reset. A lot of people think that rest is a bad thing, but it's necessary to recharge. Your phone die all the time. Your AirPods die. You know what I'm saying? That vibrator you got. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. He just threw that in there real slow.
That dies sometimes. You gotta charge it. That's all I'm saying.
Hopefully it don't die at the wrong time.
Yeah, you never know. You know what I'm saying? Stay charged. If you stay ready, you don't gotta get ready. That's what we was getting at, Tone. That's really what it came down to. But to wrap it all up, man, it's important to first recognize when your battery is on E, and then it's up to you to know how to charge it. Like, you can't rely on someone else to do that work. That's something that only you can understand how to refill your cup and to re-pour when you're ready.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest revelations for me is to identify when you should start to ask for help early. I feel like that is something that, in just this whole maturation process of the black man situation, it's not the easiest thing to get
Asking
into.
for help is... whew. You have a better time asking for money, honestly. Yo,
can I get?
I'm down bad. Let me hold five.
Something.
Yeah, let me hold a little something. Like,
everybody done been there.
And that's not even real help. Like, if the help you really need, whew.
Been broke before is the easier ask, but anything that really gets into the I need help, I need support, and being able to name something specifically after that, I do think that's a different level of self-preservation, strength, and just really maturation that comes about with, for me, it took some time. That wasn't the easiest thing to get into. So I do feel clarity around the fact that I know when to do that early in the process. And that, I think, gives you the longevity of being able to get back up and get into the right direction.
I just want to pause you to add some punctuation to what came up for me real quick.
Okay.
I grew up as an only child.
Okay.
To a single mom. Mm-hmm. My dad was in my life, but he ain't lived with me. But I had to figure it out on my own. I ain't had no brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
It was if you want this, I gotta do it. I can't go and borrow from somebody else, or you know what I mean? And learning how to develop and ask for help. When you see your mom struggling to make ends meet and doing things to make sure that I'm good, realizing that is it's tough to ask for that help that you need, because that's something that you have to learn what you need. You got to understand your value and where you off at, what you missing, all the above.
Take some time and some self-appraisal ability for sure. And that's not something that comes about when you're just in a perpetual state of reacting. If you're always thinking about moving from here to there, you can't survive off the fight or flight all the time. It's not going to let you play the best hand of the game that you possibly can. And the opposite end of that, when you do rely solely on your own innovation, realize how hard you're making the game that nobody else is going to ever credit you for. You know what I mean? If you literally have to figure out every single thing that you have to do to get to some level of what you would define as success, you literally are reinventing the wheel every single time. When there's an easier path, there's an easier route, and there's often somebody who's done the crazy thing that you think is only about you. Somebody has tried a version of that. So the quicker you can get to that ask, the quicker you can find that mentor, that coach, that trainer, whatever it is, that guru, somebody that can help you along the path. Just point out, hey, don't step over here, step right here. Get on that, get in this direction, get everything you need, and keep going, because you could take it a lot further.
That part.
We're going to get out of this Ask a Professional. And now, Kyle, I want to get into some news this week, my brother. I want to talk about some good.
Okay.
I want to talk about a little bit of bad.
Uh-huh.
And we got to go over some things that are questionable, slightly ugly. Kyle's time for some rip from the headlines. Now, first things out, Kyle. People who consume energy drinks on a regular basis are starting to have negative impacts on their REM sleep. And according to this Harvard research that was taking place, students who've had consumed energy drinks over the course of a month saw spikes in cortisol levels and had issues getting into that, like I said, deep REM sleep. So apparently everybody's chugging these Monsters, these Red Bulls. It used to be the Four Locos in your era, things of that nature. And these things are starting to...
that's a whole different bag if you just slid in there.
It's still an energy drink. It was an energy drink plus the alcohol. Apparently, you're starting to have issues that are connecting to even serious things like heart arrhythmias. Brother Jones, how do you feel about these energy drinks causing sleep issues in the youth in particular?
I feel like we've all known that Red Bull don't give you wings. Like
somebody sued for that.
I know, because that's why they had to stop saying it, because it never gave you wings, right? You should have never been drinking it. I remember people talking about there was like bull urine and a bunch of shit.
It wasn't no damn bull urine.
It was articles that was circulating about energy drinks. I say I like to say that energy drink culture is very much that of the Starbucks, I gotta live and die by this cup, the soda drinkers, like you name it, anybody that loves that packaged kind of beverage, and they've always been problematic. It's not nothing new. If you need new sources of energy, there are natural ways that you can go about that through fruits and juices and things of that nature. Get your stamina up, man. Put that energy drink down. That ain't good.
Especially for the sleep, because sleep is going to be one of those things that help you actually recover all that other stuff. So,
which we just talked about, recovery, and hey.
Can't pour from an empty cup on that, man.
Sliding into my own good, bad, and ugly. We were talking about Snoop, so it only makes sense that we talk about Wiz Khalifa. Right now, Wiz Khalifa, famously known for, black and yellow, Kush and orange juice, all the above, Taylor Gang. He ain't never have a Converse deal, which is crazy. He was Taylor Gang the whole goddamn time. Now, I'm talking about Wiz this week because Wiz was in the gym getting some leg work in. Now, we've known him to always be a rather slender individual, and on top of that, he was getting into like Muay Thai for a little bit. Like, he was bulking up and learning how to fight in case y'all wanted to test him. But nonetheless, he stayed in shape over time. Now, he was in here getting into some curtsy lunges, Brother Tone. I just want to highlight this brother actually getting his leg work in. How do you feel about seeing such things?
Hey, man, anytime you get somebody that's starting to work on something as specific as a curtsy lunge, it lets me know that they've been putting some time into the gym. This ain't the for show muscles. These are the go muscles. And Wiz is showing up trying to really take his athleticism to a different level, man.
Fellas, you trying to get your hip hinge and you trying to lay that pipe? You might need a curtsy lunge in your life just to get your legs right and that stamina. But we'll talk about that another day. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about coming in hot.
You talk about the same thing that you were talking about before, or
no? We're gonna slide out of that. We're gonna slide out of,
Your euphemisms got to make that change.
The filthy talk. Pardon my left. I was looking at an article that you sent me. This is from Puberty, when they were talking about people leaving parties without saying goodbye, saving up to 2 days per year. That's 48 hours, bro. 48 hours of just not saying goodbye at parties. I told you this. They be stealing my shit, right?
The Rick Ross exit is a real thing.
The Rick Ross exit is a real thing. Go back and look at the 85 South show and how Rick Ross dipped on them brothers mid-interview. Y'all made the bathroom. He never came back. Like he was out of there, right?
It really is an act of self-care. Now I take it back, Kyle. You save a whole 2 days.
48 hours is crazy. Just think about how long 48 hours is and that amount of time equating to you not saying goodbye when you leave. Like, I was at an event last night, fam. I said goodbye like 10 times before I could actually get my way out the door. I had to walk through everybody. It was crazy, so just wanted to reiterate that. And also, these publications be stealing my shit. Tom's stole my bathrooms. You remember that back in the day I was posting about who had the best bathroom in bars and whatnot? I digress.
Often imitated, never duplicated.
I digress. This last part. Now, Brother Tone, if I was to tell you or say the word Eurostep, what comes to mind?
Athleticism at its best in the modern NBA, my friend. You have to jump from left to right or right to left without carrying or dragging that back foot so that you can get called for the walk. Plyometrics.
Okay, we'll take it from there. Plyometrics, athletic move. It is used as, a way to score a basket, to get around the defender,
Evade the defender, yeah.
Evading the defender to get a bucket, right? Now, this term, Eurostep, is assumed to have had its origin in Europe. It's like, oh yeah, the European players did this step, and that's when we took it from them and brought it back to the NBA, and now we call it a Eurostep because you have a player like Manu Ginobili who got his bread and butter. Go look at some.
He definitely was Eurostepping.
Go look at some Manu Ginobili highlights and see what a real Eurostep was like before, like D Wade adapted it and people that really affected it, like James Harden, if you will. Right now, I say all this to say that, would you believe the first Eurostep was by a black man.
Yes, I do.
Would you also believe this black man played for the Los Angeles Lakers?
I could also believe that. That makes sense.
You got 3 guesses on who you think this person might be. Clock is on.
Magic.
No.
Yeah, that was going to be the last guess for me.
This player is actually Elgin Baylor back in the 80s, right? Elgin Baylor is famously known for creating the Eurostep amongst the league. He was the first person to actually do it, and also one of the high flyers that would float in the air before a Jordan would jump from the free throw line. When you look at these highlights and really understand, Elgin Baylor played for the Showtime Lakers in the 80s, fam.
That's why I gotta get some credit for Magic.
No, like, all right, we talking early 80s, like really 70s, right? You get what I'm saying? Like, this clip is a clip from Dominique Wilkins, who's doing it well after the fact, right? So just wanted to highlight that when we use a term like Eurostep, not understanding that it's really a nigga step. You get what I'm saying? We're not doing that. No, it's really a step that Elgin Baylor created, and when that story isn't told, it's ugly because the origin didn't live somewhere else. That power leaves, and it's not in-house anymore.
So if you had to rename it, what are we calling it? And it can't be the nigga step. We got to call it something.
You
something
seen
better than that.
OJ talking about the nigga suit? No.
I also don't need that side of the
Ben
internet.
Simmons zipping up his nigga suit? No. Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry, but with that, I digress. I would call the new Eurostep. I would call it the EB step, man. It's the Elgin Baylor step, right? Let's take it easy.
All right. I think we need some workshopping on the
We
name.
need some workshopping on the new Euro.
The Baylor bounce. Hit you with the Baylor bounce.
Not to be confused with the bankhead, but the Baylor bounce.
The Baylor bounce. That's what
It's on the basketball court, not on the dance floor.
Yeah.
One hop this time. Rest in peace to the cha-cha-cha slide, man. Oh, man. We got to honor that, man. He created a real legacy, you know?
It was black motion.
Yeah, we need to replace the cha-cha slide with the Negro National Anthem. So we going to slide out of that tone.
Lift every voice and sing has now been replaced by the cha-cha
I motion
slide.
that. I say, let's go for it, right? Because then we get in the community to move at any sad event. You know what I mean? Or, like, imagine if you at the Super Bowl, or imagine you giving a inaugurational speech, and it's like, yo, this is something new. Part 2, we gonna get funky. Imagine a million people doing the cha-cha at once. That's real unity, Tone. We need that.
That's peak blackness right there. That's we've achieved.
We
peak
need
blackness.
to replace Lift Every Voice and Sing. Nobody know the second verse anyway.
Yeah, it get real quiet for the second
After
verse.
the first verse goes off, you just harmonizing at that
Lean
point.
on me in there.
When you're, hey, that's not this
That's
song.
not the right song. Cut that out.
Off the strength, ladies and gentlemen, we got off the rails. It's been a minute since we got off the rails a little bit. Let's reel it in, and it's time for my Raising the Bar segment, Tone. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you are now in store. Raise your bar.
Let's raise it up.
Brother Tone.
Yes, sir.
Man, I had a lesson come in this week that was tough. Let me rewind. It wasn't a tough lesson. It was an impactful one. It was heavy, if you will, right? And this lesson started with a conversation with my moms. We was on the phone, and I was talking about a presentation that I got to do next week, and we somehow ended up on this idea of integrity and chivalry. Right now, integrity, much like chivalry, is optional, like extra guac. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't got to get that shit. You can pay for it, or you could not, and you could just go on about your day, right? Like, but when I think about that, I'm thinking about integrity used to have a little bit of weight to it back in the day. It was the kind of act that was welcomed, it was received, and it was rewarded, right? It's like, yo, you could stand on what the kids say these days, stand on business, right? That term is a direct descendant of what integrity used to be, right? Now, On the other hand, we think about chivalry, right? Now, to be chivalrous traditionally was known as behavior for a man to court a woman, right? It's like, yo, I'm opening doors, I'm laying my jacket down for you to walk over a puddle.
Which has that? Did we check the facts on that
That
one?
was some white shit, fam. We ain't never do that. But nonetheless, because who's doing that laundry? Like, fam, what? You putting your whole coat
You walked on my jacket?
on a puddle? Like,
We could have just walked around.
We could have, right? So that takes me to this point, right? Of like chivalry back then, it was outdated. It wasn't gender neutral, and I feel like as a whole, people just aren't as nice as they used to be, right? Like altogether. So a lot of people I feel are now stuck in this selfish mode, and they just out for self, and they're very exclusively about their own benefit. I feel like we are in a societal norm of behavior where the broken moral compass is all over the place. You know what I'm saying? People just got bad manners. Like, it is wild, right? And I'm like, well, what is it like if we then retrofit something like chivalry into a modern day society? Right? Like, well, what does that look like? What does it look like when we just take the gender away from it and be like, yo, I'm just holding this door because it's the right thing to do. Or like, I'm helping this person that's in need. I'm not caring about their sex, race, creed, religion. You're a human. I'm going to help you. Right? Like, I'm like, yo, that's interesting. And it took me down to this point of, I was at the event last night. We talked about the homie Joel and him putting on the interview series that was formerly called In Process and is now called Let's All Get Free, right? He was interviewing a young lady by the name of Sierra, who was actually from Baltimore. So shout out to her. But Sierra is the first woman to build a black and brown exclusive art gallery in New York. Go figure, it never existed before. And art is one of those things that it's a lot of dudes, it's a lot of white dudes, and black and brown women are heavily underrepresented in that community. So for her to showcase this type of art specifically was like, yo, this is very intentional, and it's clearly something important to you to take up space in this way, right? And she had a moment in reflection on being the first person to do something. Like, we often take for granted that, yo, somebody gotta be first, right? Like, when we look at something like a Squid Games or like those game shows that came on, people were scared to be first. Like, it was a lot of people that was like, I'm gonna play the game, I'm gonna be in the back, I'm gonna let somebody else go first. It's like, nah, you not standing on business. Like, where's your integrity at? Like, you go forward, you take that first step into vulnerability, right? Into fear, into whatever that unknown is on the other side, because it has to be done, because someone has to do it, right? It comes all together to coalesce, if you will, into this thought of, well, integrity and chivalry can still happen. Chivalry might just need to be, again, modernized and retrofitted to reflect what present day looks like. But somebody has to be the first one to do it, right? Somebody has to be the first person to be, to showcase integrity when it needs to be shown, in order for other people to realize, like, this level of consciousness exists. There's people out here that think about what they do and are intentional about it. Which brings me to this question to you, Brother Tone. Now, it's a two-part question. The first question is, can you recall your last integral moment? One. Two, as well as, can you add some texture to your thoughts on retroactively adjusting chivalry to reflect modern standards?
So I'll start with the latter portion first. To reflect modern standards, I think, is the problem in why it seems like those two things are not on the same page today. Because I do think, much to your point, that chivalry was based on a standard, right? Now, when people were setting that standard, not all people could vote on what that standard was going to be, right? So we largely inherited a system of rules that don't currently reflect what the people that those rules govern actually look like up until today, right? So with a lot of the identity politics that we kind of go through, it's the erasure of the old guard, but we don't really set up a good new standard to replace it. right? And that is honestly some of the things that I'm a little bit concerned about, as we do need to take down some of that infrastructure. But if you don't think through it comprehensively and put something in its place, we end up having nonsensical conversations. And we end up having this self-first mentality, which does not allow for society to advance as a whole. And at the end of the day, I do think we need to keep thinking about what the horizon needs to look like. So what does that mean? We used to have, for lack of a better effort, we had institutions where people got purpose from. Even if they didn't have their own self-worth, self-value, we had places where people would tell you, this is your purpose. And be like, oh, thank you. I needed that. Now, because we've gotten rid of most of the places where people find purpose, they seek it in other spaces. And now it just becomes echo chambers of the things that you want, the things that make sense to you, that shine the brightest to you, or that really irritate you. And that's how most people in the world are going out, arming themselves against the defense of things that don't make 100% sense of what they think about, right? So in order for you to have chivalry injected back into there, you have to have discourse injected back into there. You have to have the ability to disagree with what somebody says, and they can't be public enemy number one. It's like, I could hear you say something. It might not be how I see the world, and we could still go forward and have dialogue around some other things. You have to mend the wound first in order to talk about what standards need to look like. And in order to mend that wound, I think you need to hear from everybody who is making sound decisions. We need to come to the middle, put some of the weaponry of identity politics down, and be able to say, okay, let's come up with a new standard, and that standard is humanity. Like, this is what we want to work towards on the humanity's sake. Now, that far be it from me to be the person who has to be the barometer on all that shit, but that is the big problem at hand, Brother Jones. Going back to when I move with integrity, I feel like that's something that I really try to do in no sparing way on a daily practice. I want to really live in a space where if I move with this level of integrity, this level of devotion in my life, I want that energy to be reciprocated back towards me. You know, so there's certain things that I will never do to compromise what I believe my integrity is based off of. And likely I wouldn't tolerate that on the opposite end, that I think is really doing something that is against what I believe and what my standard is. You know, it doesn't mean that I have to completely divorce myself from that person, but I really do have to have the elasticity to be able to put my thoughts in practice at the forefront of my decision making. You know, and if something really doesn't feel like it's aligned, I think I'll move in the direction of what is supposed to be, you know, true to me 10 times out of 10.
Damn, you done said some shit, Tone. Like you done laid down a lot to walk through. What came up for me is the discourse that needs to take place first and foremost, right? Like, there does need to be a conversation. There does need to be the ideation around who's that guard that's replacing the old ways of how that used to be. On top of that, moving with integrity, it is intentional. It is something that you should practice every day. It is a muscle that should be exercised, much like you would work a bicep out or some shoulders. It's like, yo, fam, I need to get a little side delta in the day. You know what I mean? And
it might mean you have to deliver some uncomfortable information. And I think that is probably the thing that makes most people fall out of alignment with what integrity needs to be. Can't tell you that you can go through life without having some level of friction with delivering something that you really truly believe is on your integrity side, right? So how do you deliver that information in a way that's not personified against who you have to deliver it to? You know, how do you really stand in it if you let somebody else's opinion down or let their emotion down? How do you still stand on what the belief is? I feel like a lot of people try to keep peace, start wars internally. You know, you're like, all right, I need to be, you know, this person for this person. It's like, you're going to be all these different people for somebody else. And what's it going to do to you on the inside?
Erode your goddamn life.
So why not stand with the integrity and move in a direction for what you truly do believe, especially if you're in a position where, okay, you're open to learning, but certain things, you have to have a line, you have to have a standard for, like, certain things that you just can't go for.
I can't go for that.
No, sir. No can do.
No, I can do. I can't go for that. Well, damn. See, it all comes down to yacht rock when you really, when you really want
to get to the science.
When you really get to the deep science of it all. Like, It's the real impetus
Okay.
of all movement.
I don't like how your hands are moving when you're saying that. Pardon your left right now.
Pardon my left. You know what I'm saying? Don't be taking my terms now. No, I got that from Mello and Miro, man. 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. I'm gonna pull up on this Red Hook studio and puff my chest up and let them know. You know what I'm saying?
I probably wouldn't do that.
We've been pardoned. You know
what parts of Red Hook is that in exactly?
And Red Hook ain't what it used to be. Ain't nothing what it used to be no more. Especially in Brooklyn, man. We've lost it. Which leads me to my point of relaxation, Tone. I was relaxing responsibly.
Let's hear about it, man.
Now, I'm relaxing responsibly in a place in particular. We talked about said place, Tone. That place is called Lift Next Level Floats.
You said Lift Next Level Floats, you say, Kyle?
That I did indeed, Tone. Now, you would need to know that sometimes your body needs a rest, a moment, a reprieve from all it's asked to do. Sometimes you just need to float, Tone. Now, Lift Next Level Floats is a sensory deprivation tank experience. There are pods, there are rooms, depending on how you feel, whatever floats your boat. You see what I did there?
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
You see what I did there?
Flag on the play.
Now, what does it feel like to actually float? Because a lot of people, if we really get into water, especially black folks, it's a touchy topic, right? We got to return to the water at some point at your own pace. I don't want to force that on nobody, you know what I mean? But physically, when you get lifted and experience the true bliss of silence and total darkness while floating in a solution of Epsom salts, you are more buoyant than the Dead Sea. You know what I mean? Once the pressure of the world is literally off of your shoulders, knees, and back, because you know that back be hurting, you know what I'm saying? That freedom of gravity can allow your body to be relieved of so much more stress, high blood pressure, fatigue, joint, and even muscle pain. You'll be free for some serious relaxation and later an incredible night's sleep. Lift Next Level Floats. Go ahead and use my code FLOATKJ1. Tell them I sent you.
There we go. Kyle, I appreciate you relaxing responsibly with a good float. I, too, got my float on, and, you know, it wasn't that...
Hey, you ain't going to talk about the competitor on the mic.
I ain't going to throw that out there. I was just talking about...
them lips up, Tone. Yeah.
I'm not talking about their competitor. I'm talking about...
Go ahead and drop that name. They ain't cut the check.
The benefit of a good float. They ain't cut the check either, so I ain't worried about stressing them out.
Say less.
I do think, in particular, I want to really tease this out a little bit more because I do want people in the diaspora, people of color, to try all the different options that they have at their hands to take stress away. I think there's a taboo around a lot of different stuff that might be not 100% center mass with what you know as that purpose-driven, that spiritual kind of work. And some people get a little weirded out by stuff that's on the fringe side. But let me tell you, as somebody who likes to dabble on the fringe, there's some benefits that come along with playing on the other side of the health and wellness spectrum.
The white side. We're going to just say it like that, right? And I'm going to pause you right there because you got to understand, like, white people don't be stressed, fam. Like, white people stress is like not black people stress. It's two different things. So when you step into like their side of relaxation, it truly is privilege that I'm laying in, Tone, in different factions of this.
Yeah, man. So I really do appreciate the physical and mental approach to floating. So not everybody does the float in complete darkness. It's sensory deprivation. So they do have usually like light treatment that you could do. Typically some of the spaces, I don't know if this one does, but
yes, there's a light treatment. There's also music, if
sound,
you like.
If you want to go.
Both are optional. You can turn them both off.
So on a gradient, people that are usually not used to fully being immersed in that salt water, which you could lose track of what the separation between your mind, your body, and I would say spirit in some cases, depending on how far you're really letting go, right? Sometimes people feel like they need to be fully in control of the plane at all times.
Yeah.
Now, if you could switch it to autopilot and truly relax, you're starting to move into a different direction where I think the absence of sound and the absence of light allow you to get into some of the more deep internal work. And that's really what it's kind of like a deep level of brain flossing for me. So I get in there and my mind is going 1,000 miles an hour. right? And if I'm able to distill time down to something that don't even matter to me anymore, and really just try to take the separation of who Tony is in the mind away from the physical experience that I'm having as my body, like you could start to feel some of that stress move through your body differently, especially when you're laying there in the water and you feel those shoulders getting lighter. You know, you literally feel your hips opening up. You feel yourself getting taller because you don't have the weight of the world literally pushing down on you, right? So now when you're free from that, what could you accomplish by aligning your mind and your purpose once you take away that physical stimulation, right? So I say that all to say, these are the benefits that I get from doing that. And I know, again, it could be labeled as one thing or another, but on some real, bro, I wish I could see more people take a second to get an hour out of their day to take that much stress away from their situation and then go back and really reappraise what's going on in the world. Would it look as bad? Would it be as ugly? Would it be as insurmountable to climb up this hill and make it over the next hump?
That was extremely insightful. I'm not going to do that. But what I'm going to do is talk about my experience as a black man and really talk about the vulnerability that has to happen, right? I'm floating in this butt ass, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't come with a bathing suit. I ain't got no, like, you do it naked, right? It's the closest thing you're going to be to being in your mother's stomach as an embryo.
In utero.
Like, literally, that's the closest you'll ever get back to that. Two, once you make that decision to be butt ass, you vulnerable, fam. You out there. Like, it has to be a safe space or else I'm going to be tussling who I'm fighting at that point, right? Like, who's going to break
It's
into...
going to be a real bad fight.
Right? Who's going to break into the lift float and rob everybody? Because that's always the first thing that comes to my mind is a robbery. Like, it's like, oh, hey, it's a stick up. Hey, get out the tank. It's like, come on, fam. Like, I'm butt ass, you know? Like, once you let that go, you have no choice but to then, like you said, succumb to your present. And it's dark in there. Like, I turn the light off all the time. Like, it's dark to the point where I could physically put my hand in front of my face and not see it, right? Like, I'm talking, I know it's there. I can feel it here, but I don't see it because that's how dark it is. So when you're in that space, it does tend to think about or bring the different realms together, right? The mind, the body, the spiritual. You can play around depending on how deep you really want to go.
Let me tell you, my friend.
You know what I'm saying?
Stuff starts to get a little slippery.
So the other side of it that I would say to the black folk that do want to try it, fam, it's salt water, right? Like, I had to wash my locks. Like, I put the swim cap on. Apparently, I don't know how to wear a swim cap because the third time was the worst time ever. Like, the first time, a little bit of water got in. I was like, all right, I could do this better. The second time, I did it better. Still a little bit of water got in. This third time, fam, I might as well just went in there raw because my hair was like, oh, you got the Bobby Brown white all up in your hair because it dried right?
up, yeah.
So the space isn't made for us in that regard, right? For our hair texture and the coarseness and things of that. Like, so come prepared to do what you need to do to rejuvenate.
Yeah, and also beforehand, I think, you know, there's got to be different strategies to take into account, right? So for me, I do the lock sock, then I do the swim cap, and I got a lock swim cap. So it's like the big oversized swim cap, to make everything go down, and you got to make sure that you ain't getting no air between your face and everything else.
You're not about to tell me about hair when you barely just crossed ear length,
but
right?
It's there though.
You get what I'm saying? Like, you talk to a nigga here, I'm past.
You got to get a bigger swim cap, bro.
You know what I'm saying? I got a little bit more length, right?
Yeah, listen, don't you tell me about your little bit more length ever again in your life.
Pardon my left. I'm sorry. I ain't mean to take it there. That was on me.
I ain't mad at that, but in the same regard, bro, I really do think that speaks to the spaces that we need to be in that position, right?
Yeah.
To be the first to come in there and experience things that 99% of the people that actively go to that space never have to worry about is letting you see the innovation that needs to take place there. So now what's it look like to walk in there with a swim cap company that is the official Organic Thug swim cap for float, for for all the blacks out there that need to float. This is how you get your float on. I designed this cap especially for the lock.
The list of products, I just want to start a list of products that people want me to sell organically. Like, or
the
some
organic thug swim cap.
Like,
yo.
that list has swim caps. It's got binoculars on there, fam. It's got a Swiss Army knife. It is a bunch of just like real haberdashery kind of purchases that I guess need to happen over time.
I think it's for people to enjoy the best of life.
The lawn chair.
You got to get out there and be an active participant in the game of life.
The picnic basket, like, it's craziness.
You're doing all types of activities. I like it.
Well, it sounds like you're hopeful for something, Tony.
I'm hopeful.
Or unless you want to talk about relaxing outside of your float tank experience.
Other than the float, I mean, I do think that was the peak level of relaxation, and that was my reset.
The Comme des Gras, what's the shit called again? The Piece de Resistance.
The Piece de Resistance. That's exactly what that was. Yeah. Apart from that, man, I just been getting back into the books. I'll make sure that I look up an exact quote to drop off the next time we get back on the mics. But that Diane von Furstenberg book has some bars in there, bro. DVF was spitting some real game in there.
Listen, she don't got no building and meatpacking for no reason.
She was working it out, man. So in addition to that level of inspiration, Kyle, I think it is time for my hope. I would say I'm hopeful to see this Macy's-like catalog of Jones activities put together at some point. for the outdoorsmen.
The calendar that they want now, the 12-month joint, like, yo.
For the outdoorsmen and everybody that is a part of the Organic Thug Tribe, I think they need an itemized catalog for all the stuff that comes along with that. No, on some seriousness, I hope that you keep getting into your bag and telling your story, man. I have to champion you for being the level of storyteller that you are, and seeing how that evolution is leading into the space where I know it's going to take you in the next chapter, man. So I'm hopeful to see that keep coming and keep growing, bro.
Man, that's beautiful. I appreciate that. As Organic Thug, we got our own initiating kind of movement that we do.
What's that?
Start a little...
No, we're not giving that to you.
Come on, give me a little bird call.
The Wolf of Wall Street. That's your Organic Thug call.
You know what it is.
I'm not going for it.
If you don't know that, then we ain't aligning. We ain't seeing eye to eye. You ain't picking up what I'm putting down. Which leads me to my hope. Man, damn, you always be stealing my hopefuls, brother. So now I'm out here freestyling on my hope, but it echoes that same sentiment of there's so much power in telling your story, because the world tricks you into thinking your story doesn't matter. You're marginalized into whoever else you look like or can be categorically, right? It's like, oh, you are a black man from this time period, you like everybody else. And it's like, that's not necessarily true. There is not only power in your story, but there's even more power when you share it, because then other people can resonate with it, or they can see themselves in you, which ultimately would foster that community, right? So I'm empowering people to find a way to tell your story as authentically as you can in whatever medium that is for you, so that other people can be impacted by it.
Man, and if you could use your story to solve problems on the way there, now you've unlocked a different level of the game, brother.
Aha!
I think you start playing.
There's the spoon.
You're playing at the level that's going to get us to the top of the rock one day. One day we supposed to be there. We ain't get there yet, but one day we're going to take it up to that 34th floor. We're going to be outside, and we're going to get into that, whatever that little garden situation is. I want to be up there doing some Organic Thug yoga one time for your mind, bro. And if they needed to check in with us at Newsstand Studios, Brother Jones, where could they catch us?
They could catch us at __ on IG. Now, if you're in the greatest city in the world, that is New York City, and you happen to be in Rockefeller Center, you could come see us perform live, right? We got Buddha monks walking past.
A little bit of everybody.
A lot of foot traffic that comes by. We had some crazy eye contact with homie, like, I don't know what he was on.
We had the Flasher that one time.
Yeah, we had, Flasher and Dancer and Prancer. We had all of them come through. So you can come down to Rockefeller Center, or if you can't make it, you can go on Instagram at Rockefeller Center, or X, formerly known as Twitter, at Rock Center NYC.
That's right. Once again, it's been another fantastic episode of Off the Strength. I'm a trainer called Tony.
KR Jones.
Peace and much love to everybody out there. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Peace.
What's good, everybody? I'm a trainer called Tony, and I am here from the infamous Off the Strength podcast, asking you today, listeners, viewers, wherever you may be, to please like, listen, and subscribe to our podcast. This is how we're going to continue to be able to deliver you the best goddamn wellness information out here. So if you want to keep hearing this and you want us to keep growing, you are a part of this show just as much as anything else. So please go to offthestrength.com. Make sure you check out our blog. Make sure you check us out on IG. And if you're hearing this voice and you didn't hit that subscribe button, know that Kyle is going to come looking for you.
You got that right.